and we worked hard for this baby. We went to the doctor today. The baby's healthy. He's 6 pounds in the womb. So, it's just, I know what that day is like because I've gone through it a couple times before. And it's a big day. It's the Super Bowl. It's the chip. And, you take life and the making of it for granted when it just comes when you're not asking. But, this situation is one that I wanted so bad and we had to work so hard for. We lost the baby a year ago at 7 months. And coming back, being resilient, being able to be happy and putting things in our rear view, not sitting in a dark room, and a year later being so much stronger and happier and being able to help people that go through this is very important to me. So we've never the first week this happened, we did public therapy, but we were very confident that we would come out of this and this is what we were dreaming about. So what I know is that your dreams will keep you pushing. It keeps you going. It keeps you living. You got a dream, and a dream has to become a reality relatively fast or else it becomes a nightmare. So had we not made the move to get right back pregnant again, we would have sat in Corona and been depressed the whole time. Instead, we were happy the whole time, and we found the light in the dark and a bright one.
And it's God's will. So, you are one of God's children.
Mm-hmm. I always feel that I go through things so that other people can learn from them. And I know that I'm strong enough to deal with them eloquently so that I can lead by example. So if I could do it, you could do it.
All right now. What's up, Dennis?
What's going on, Shelly? So, just keeping with what Dane is talking about with that dream. Those of us who understand and know what's going on with OSG, seven months ago, it was all a dream, right? Me being able to kind of get this crew together and to watch us grow into one of the strongest movements that there is right now in this country is nothing short of a dream come true. So I'm extremely happy for that.
Dennis, what you have to recognize about OSG is it's a unicorn. It doesn't exist. And that was the reason why I knew, just as the Dame Dash senses, my spidey senses, the second I got there, I knew that it affected me in a way that I had never been affected before. I never saw 90 black principals. I never saw 5 black principals. And I wasn't aware that they could be principals and go and do that and still really care about the children and be swaggy, be cool, and do things for the kids other than what the Board of Education is providing for them. And also fighting for their lives, risking their lives. And there's like an international frame of mind, a common ground, like-minded people that really just fight for love and understand how important the future is. See, your dream is a future because it hasn't happened yet. Every child is a dream. They're our future. And that's what we're very heavily invested in. So, I became an honorary member of OSG because I'm not a principal. But I had to bring something to the table, And
you did.
And I feel proud that I'm able to sit with intellects that are swaggy and learn from them and also teach them. But it's actually been a fair exchange the whole way.
No doubt. And so, Dame, you and I, there's always the faces that we remember on OSG because they're a little bit more boisterous. We know Simone, the Lioness. We know
OSG family.
We know Dr. Action. We know the entire OSG family. But Dame, Michelle has been with us from almost the very beginning, and we didn't see Shelly's face until September. Right?
I was hiding.
She was hiding the whole time.
Partner. I was a silent partner.
That's our international shy principal. But she come out.
Ghana, what's up?
Ghana.
That's right.
So Shelly, one thing that me and Dave just talked about the dream, and yesterday when I reached out to you and I say, yo, Shelly, listen, I think we got something here for you. Your excitement about it, about being able to to host this town hall was something that I wish that everybody could have experienced that when I called you, right? But I could tell everybody here it was probably one of the prouder moments that I've had, seeing and hearing how excited Michelle was to actually host this town hall event. So Go ahead, Michelle. Talk to us. Damon already talked about our dream.
I'm just happy to be in the room. We have some very exciting panelists with us tonight. And, it's one thing to talk about something that you're passionate about as an academic, but to be able to have people in the room who have this lived experience and that same commitment to our topic is what I think is so dope, because everybody in here is so powerful and so committed to really disrupting the school to prison pipeline, which is our topic. And we hear that phrase a lot, because it's like a catchphrase that's been around for the last 30 years. But to really hear people who've, been somewhere in that continuum of that experience where it started off young for them in school, whether it was from elementary school through middle school, through high school and beyond, and then whatever happened in the streets, everyone is coming together from a different perspective. And that's what we're going to hear from tonight. So I'm just so excited to get started. Again, our topic is disruption of the school.
And Michelle, I want to be clear. Our intention is not to only talk about it, but to fix it. We do not depend on our oppressor to fix anything. My perspective on things is the way the system is intentional. The mistakes are known. You don't have to be dumb. You don't have to be a genius to know this. So to me, it's a genius to know not to fix it, to keep us in a certain frame of mind. And also that's what the commission and OSG, our job is to bring awareness to things, make people accountable. But if they don't fix it, we will.
And that's what I'm hoping comes from this tonight, is one thing to just talk about what we already know and what's already written. Obviously, we got to drop in, little jewels and bring everyone up to speed with some of those statistics that everyone might not be aware of. But it's really to have that solution in the room for us to really talk about, well, this is what it is, but what do we do with that now that we know this is what it is, where we're going to go from here.
So Michelle, and in short, let everybody know, if you had to describe the school to prison pipeline, what exactly is it that people need to be aware of? Because the guests here today will all have a unique perspective on it, and I just want to make sure everybody knows what we're dealing with here.
So it's more than a catchphrase that, honestly, it's been around for maybe the last 3 decades or so, but it's that phenomenon of how we choose to push students out of schools and into the criminal justice system. Sometimes it happens directly, where at certain schools they do have like a police activity that occurs. But then there are more subtle things that happen that are indirect, where we look at suspensions, expulsions, no relationships between anyone at the school and the student. And then their engagement starts to dwindle. And then we start thinking about dropping out, or what's here for me, or the lack of access to programs that other kids are getting, or not having someone that they can talk to that's not necessarily to be the teacher. So we have all these little subtle things that happen that ultimately push our kids out of school. And a lot of that happens through federal, state mandates and policies that have transferred from for our people from the days of slavery. So they've just taken a different stamp on it, but it was that same thing of keeping us out of equitable situations that keep us profitable and culturally rich.
And Michelle, real clear for me, what I've learned is that the prison system, they actually build the prisons based on who can't read and who fails in school.
You're absolutely correct.
And the only thing that's presented to us is either an education that only provides you a 9 to 5, which keeps you in debt, or the dream of playing basketball or another professional sport or being an entertainer. And school provides only those 2 things. So it's almost like a setup to say, yo, nobody wants a 9 to 5. We broke. That's just survival. I can't do nothing for my family or my kids like that. I'm going to bet everything on basketball or football. And that's like lotto. And then once that doesn't work out, jail. They know that your other alternative, your survival skills, is to do something criminal. So it's set up. And then we learn that just being in jail is a business. And then when I have personal friends that go to jail, you know what happens in jail? They work out, but they're fed food that makes them way less healthy when they come out. They're not prepared. They have anxiety. The kind of psychological pressure that's put on them makes them make brash decisions. And then when they come out, they have to jump in line with everyone that went to school to survive. And there is no out. There's no criminal activity they can do or a sport they can play. So what does that leave you with? Depression and more crime. And now with everything that's going on now, I can guarantee you that they're already saying because people are broke, there's going to be more crime. Let's build more jails. But when we get there, let's not prepare them. Let's make them keep this cycle and pass it along. And the reason why people go to jail is because they're trying to make money. So at the end of the day, financial empowerment and showing these kids how to be independent entrepreneurs and learning how.
So you're absolutely right. When you get out into the system, as a people, we're strong, we're proud, and we're going to survive no matter what, right? That's a given. But when we start looking at the school to prison pipeline, they're tracking our kids from 4 years old. Like the first time I even heard that, to know that they're watching pre-K babies. This is, how can you suspend a pre-K baby, a 4-year-old? But the reality is, based on policy, you're right. Large money makers are building entire communities around prisons, right? That's the main food for the prison. But they're banking on the backs of our kids when they're 4, put 15 years on it, and they're going to start figuring out how many beds they need to house our kids, our sons, our daughters. So this is why having this discussion right here is also important. Even to think about people who are in jail right now, 68% of males in the federal or state prison system right now don't even have a high school diploma.
But how do you judge somebody that's just surviving the only way they can, and all this unrecognized trauma that's triggering these different reactions? So it's known that if you put somebody in survival mode, you put a raccoon in survival, they're going to kill to get out of that. And they know where you're going to go. It just seems so strategic. And the only way to keep the best prison reform is to keep our kids out of prison. Teach them how to be entrepreneurs so they don't have to break laws to survive. And I think that you don't break, unless you're in a bad frame of mind, you don't break a law unless you're trying to make money to survive. Most of the people I know that break laws are actually good people. They're actually better than the people I know that don't break laws, but they actually do break laws, but they're just legal. You know? And again, and the last thing I'm going to say, and this is something I want to dentist everybody. I don't understand how we still abide by laws that were made by people that had slaves. It's not logical. So that means criminals made laws and we still abide by them. Because if you had a slave right now, you'd be going to jail. So I don't understand why we still abide by laws and education that was implemented by people that had slaves. And I'm done.
And so, Dame and Michelle, so one of the things that I want us to spend time with today is that when we talk about this pipeline, we usually focus on the end of the pipeline, the prison side. I want us to really talk about the preventive measures that we need to do in the schools so that kids don't even reach that end of the pipeline. You got what I'm saying? Our conversations have always been rich about the penal system and what happens when kids, when they get to the end of that pipeline. We got to talk about what we do in the beginning. And so the best way for us to do that is to actually talk to some of our guests to find out what exactly were their experiences in school, because we might be able to try to help, identify where this thing started. People that just didn't wake up one morning and decide that it's important that moving forward throughout the rest of this night, we begin to talk about how and where this pipeline began for so many of our guests. So I'm going to start, if you don't mind me, Michelle, I want to start by bringing in our own good friend from Gary, Indiana, Senator Eddie Melton.
All right.
Senator Eddie Melton, if you're in the building, come on in. There he goes.
Senator.
What's up, Senator Milton?
Hello, sir.
How's everyone?
All right, and you?
I'm blessed. Happy to be here with you.
Yeah, so I'll ask the first question, Shelly, and then I'll let you take it from there. So, let me ask you that, Senator Milton, that what's really important to me to find out is, think about this pipeline that we discussed, right? From school to prison. Can you kind of talk to me as to what prevented you, or what happened, why you didn't end up at that end of the pipeline? What happened, whether it was in school, what happened with, a particular teacher, friends? What happened why you didn't reach the end of that pipeline, which is prison?
Bro, it was the grace of God. I just got to admit, and Dane touched on this, from the environment I'm from, here in Gary, Indiana. I was involved in a lot of things that could have put me in a position that a lot of my friends ended up in prison or dead. But God seen fit for me to take a different pathway. And it was mentors. It was individuals that stepped up in my life because my father wasn't actively in my life. But however, it was just the love and support from coaches, the faith community that was there to support us.
But hey, Senator.
So good question.
Let me just say real quick.
Mentors. Did you find that those mentors were people that embraced you from school, or was it people in your community?
It was people from my community. What's crazy is that I had cousins that was in the streets, heavy and deep, and I wanted to be extremely hands-on or right there with them. But I felt like a black sheep. They would push me away. They seen something in me.
They were trying to save you.
I played football. Absolutely. I think the saving grace for me was playing football and sports.
Hey, Senator.
Yes, sir.
So in spending time with you, what I see that you do different is that you can see the future. You know, you're clear. You know what laws can be passed. You know how to draft them up. You understand process. That's a unique quality that a lot of us don't have. And even in you recently helping get Duke released from prison, you had to see what your work was going to do and what the end result was going to be. Can you talk about just seeing what the future is and what you've been doing? Because you really out there on the front line doing it. You one of us.
I appreciate it, man. I think that seeing that future is, you got to be in tune with your community. You have to know what the need and the desires of community is. And as an elected official, you can't be too large or too big. You got to humble yourself. And you got to be open to listen to what the people are telling you. I got my brother here with me. My brother's home. I told folks he was up for a double life sentence, commuted to 30 years. And the grace of God, this man is him right now. It's been
and let's not forget, he can fight. He can fight.
He got the.
We gotta give it on. We gotta give him a
tell that story. Yeah, you gotta get that all out.
I need a proper introduction.
Because you wouldn't pick that man up from jail so he can spend time with his children, bro. And that's real. So I think you should talk about the whole process.
I'm gonna make the proper introduction because we'll have to leave in a little bit, and we're extremely humbled to be with you all. 16 years ago, Charles Duke-Tanner was a 19-0 boxer that just made it into the pros. He made some decisions, and I'm sure he'll talk about it, but he's redeemed himself. But at the grace of God, this man faced a double life sentence in prison, federal. And that time got cut down to 30 years. And I tell people, every time I talk to him on the phone, he would never know that he was facing double life before that time was commuted. So we petitioned the Obama administration, and I think it got down to 30 years. And he already served 16 of that. So myself and several other advocates, Ms. Alice Johnson, Brother Weldon, and so many other advocate groups, Troy Bly, we reached out to our network within the White House. And for me, it was Brother Jerron Smith. And I asked him, I said, you have to look at this case. And he shared it with the president. You got to give him his props. He took it and he signed a clemency for Duke. And Duke, for the first time, and I'm going to say this, I'm going to shut up because I think he has to tell his story. What touched me, again, is his faith. But secondly, to see when he left, his son was 2 years old. And to see him embrace his 18-year-old son in the airport, that did something to me. So, ladies and gentlemen, we got Mr. Charles Duke Tanner that's here with us today.
What's up, everybody? What's going on? What up, Duke? What's up? What's up, Dave?
What up, Duke?
Hey, man, listen, man, you should have seen my son, man. My son said, "Oh, man, Daddy, tweet." I don't know about this social media stuff. But he's like, "Man, Daddy, you know." I said, "Yeah, man." He's like, "Man, he be having them robes, Daddy. You got to get that robe, that Versace robe." Like, man.
Everybody knows about the Versace.
How you guys doing, man?
We're good.
Good, dude.
The question is, how are you doing, bro?
Good.
Listen, man, I've been free a week today, a whole week. You know, I gave like 2 life sentences in 2016, and they reduced it down to 30 years, but they didn't. They denied my clemency petition. You know, I was kind of heartbroken, but you know, I had faith. I kept pushing, and the base. I've been listening to what you guys been talking about. And I would like to add to what we're doing is great now, because now you got us all coming together as a collective. That's the only thing. That's the only way this stuff won't stop. You know, you just can't have the guys in New York pushing, or the guys in Indiana, where we from, pushing. We got to come together with the guys from Indiana, LA, New York, all over, and try to get some of these laws changed, because it's just unconstitutional, man. You know, I was 24 years old. And the judge looked at me and told me, man, I'm going to spend the rest of my life in prison. You know what I mean? And there's nothing you can do about it. And it was my first arrest, you know? And this brother right here, man, like I told some people earlier, he my hero, because even though he's younger than me, but I've been watching and hearing him, all the good things he do to the community. And I feel that it's a lot of our responsibility for these younger kids, because somewhere they got lost. You know what I mean? And we got to start grabbing them, you know, so they don't even have to go through this, you know. But who how many people trying to do it? You know, you got a lot of people talking, but is they really trying to do it? You know what I mean? So that's what I'm here for, and I'm supporting them 1,000%. You know what I mean? I started working right then and there. You know, I'm starting training Monday, because I am gonna fight again for sure. You know what I'm saying? I gotta try it. I ain't gonna tell you, man. I think I still got it.
The word on the street is you might be fighting Roy.
Hey, listen, man.
If you get past Mike.
He like, you giving up too many.
What's the worst thing he can do to me? What's the worst thing he can do to me? I resurrected, man. You know what I mean? Listen, man, for real, in 2015, it was probably 14 was like the worst year of my life, man. All my appeals was done, and I was kind of thinking like, you know, this it. You know what I mean? So I got to do the rest of my life here. I lost my old man. You know, and it was just like, that's it. And then now, we switch over 5 years later, and man, I'm on Fox News last night. You know what I'm saying? We gotta make a change though, because it's so many other good men back there that don't have the hope, don't got the faith or the people to communicate for them on the outside. So we gotta fight out here. So therefore, these laws can change and not make them fight for it. Like, to be honest, Trump signed the First Step Act, and that bill is so powerful. So many people should be let go right now, but they start giving them lawyers and making them fight for it and saying it's under the judge's discretion. No, you under a crack case 100 to 1. I got a good brother, man, named Bobby Suggs and Mike Mason from my city. They under 100 to 1 law right now, and they still got life sentences. And that law don't even exist no more. You can't explain that to me. And, you know, I get emotional about it because I had that death sentence, man, and people don't know what it feels. When you a stand-up guy and you go all the way, you know what I'm saying? And now you sitting there for life. And I got guys in there 20 years from everywhere, 30 years with the life sentence.
Well, Duke, let me just say this, though. You know what I mean? And I think going back to, you know, Michelle and her earlier conversation with us, you know, this pipeline is real. You got what I'm saying? We keep talking about the end of the pipeline. I want us to get back to where in that pipeline did Duke get into, or that where in that pipeline was there the resistance for him to move forward? What happened?
But look, Dennis, think about it. He was escaping a social class two ways. Either it was criminally or it was from being a boxer. And even still, that's his dream, to fight, to make money. And that's all they leave us with. No one teaches us in education how to be an entrepreneur. No one teaches us how to pass laws.
No, but then let Duke say that, though, because I want to hear from Duke. I want to hear from Duke what it is.
But I want to frame the question directly, like, Duke, when you were a child, what was offered to you to get out of a social class?
Dame, listen. So, Duke, what I'm asking you is because it could have happened when you were younger, when you were 4, 5, 6, 7 years old. It could have happened when you were an adolescent. It could have happened when you was a teenager. I'm just basically trying to identify, because we got an audience here that is actually going to be dealing with the same thing, because we got principals of elementary schools, middle schools, and high schools.
But Dennis, what I'm trying to tell you is this: coming from exactly where he was coming from. All I know is.
But Dame, I didn't come from that. And that's why I'm going to fight that, because my argument with Duke is, I want to know from Duke, where did you come from, Duke? Where did the problem start? Because I know they know, but the world don't know.
Well, I was just trying to put it in layman's terms. You was putting it in principle terms. I was trying to. I'm talking another language.
So you know
all right, go ahead.
Here's the problem with Dame. When he don't wear his
Why I gotta have a problem? Why I gotta have a problem? Because I'm black?
When he don't wear his OSG hoodie, he ain't a principal. So today he don't want to be a principal.
But here it is. The OSG hoodie is made by Poppington. The OSG hoodie is made by Poppington, and I'm wearing Poppington, so I'm still OSG. So it's all good.
My man. So talk to us, Big Duke.
Yeah, tell us where it all began for you, and I also want you to include, like, I believe you said that your son was 2.
Right.
When you went away, and now he's 18.
Right.
So I saw the pictures, because I tried to do a little homework on everyone tonight, and I saw that was real dope, how everyone met you at the airport in Philly. I saw the picture with your son. So how did you keep that relationship, strong, and what are you telling him to avoid?
Okay,
what was that relationship?
Before I answer that question, I didn't clearly understand what Dennis was asking me, because I would like to answer that question, from my point of view.
Yeah, so Duke, what I was asking, so again, so the topic is about the school to prison pipeline, right? And so you ended up in prison, and we wanted to kind of know and try to help identify some of the things that may have happened along the way while you were going to and through school that might have led to some of your decisions. It don't necessarily physically have to be in the school building. It could be about friends that you went to school with, those type of things. So I wanted to kind of talk a little bit more about the school side of it, so that we can kind of identify some structures that we can put in place.
Like I think he's saying, what made you say, I'm gonna choose this to get money over that?
Okay, so to break it down, those guys that was pushing this guy off the streets and off the block was me. You know what I mean? And those friends and cousins that he had was my friends. But I was like him. I went to school. I actually, based on my boxing, I went to a private school.
Me too.
Yeah, I went to a private school, graduated from it, and I turned pro at 18 years old because I was tired of seeing where my people was at. So I wanted to use boxing to take them from this little small town of Gary, Indiana. Now, I got hurt during the time and the boxing wasn't picking up. So all my friends was in the streets. So I went to the streets and ended up in prison. I broke the law. But the thing about it is I wanted to take responsibility for what I done and exercise my constitutional right. And because I done that, I ended up with a double license.
But this is exactly what I was saying. The only escape he had.
It's all right for you not to be the guest right now, Dane.
Why can't I talk to him? Why can't I? Let me just say this. I'm just identifying it. This is exactly what I said. he looked at sports as a way out when he got hurt. The only thing left was criminal activity. That's all I was saying.
Okay, let me share this real quick.
And that's systematic. That's systematic.
I'm going to say this. I'm not a former educator, right? I served on the State Board of Education in Indiana. And as a board member on the State Board of Education, this is before I was elected, I seen something that triggered me to want to ask questions. I asked for data. I said, I want to know, across the entire state of Indiana, the number of students that are suspended or expelled from schools. They provided a report from Indiana University, and that report showed that in a disproportionate amount of African American, black boys and black girls were being suspended and expelled for school for minor offenses, right? Now, you know, as educators, if you miss one day of school, or if you miss a week of school, and then you get Title 20, which they call it here, you miss 2 weeks of school, you miss almost the entire school year of school learning. So my friends and family members, you know, I've been suspended before, but I had a support system that would get me back in there and get me back on track. 8th grade, because they didn't have that support system back home.
What were those types of offenses that they were getting expelled from school for?
I got expelled. I got expelled for parking in my principal's spot.
What?
I got expelled. My principal, Frankie, in Westside High, told me I could kick most students out for being late 3 times. I usually don't, but I'm kicking you out for parking in my spot. I had a 300Z.
No, but that's an interesting question. But here's what, in that data, in that report, and folks can go and look at it, you'll see a laundry list of truancy, fighting, paraphernalia. But the largest percentage across the board was other. You had a significant percentage. There was no definition. So what you find in a lot of communities that you have people that are not of our background, not of our culture, that don't know how to manage us in a classroom. And when they get frustrated, they don't know how to manage the students, they'll send them out. They'll kick them out. Then you get the suspension. Then you get the expulsion. Then you get people just not returning at all. So I think it's cultural. I think it's leadership in terms of some of these schools, in terms of how to cultural sensitivity and getting folks to understand how to educate Black and brown children. And like I said, I'm not an educator, but I've seen it as a policymaker, and these are the issues that we got to start addressing.
I think they just set us up to fail so that they can build more jails.
But we got to control that narrative, which I think is why we're here right now. You're right. That other box is what they call discretionary offenses, which means it's at the discretion of that school's administration to decide if they're going to suspend or expel. And it could be for something as small as refusing to take a hat off in the hallway, or your earbuds, or removing your hoodie. We've seen a lot of videos. It has nothing to do with gender. Like, they'll flip girls on the floor. I don't know if any of you have seen some of those videos, but it's not a game. So we do need to start looking at it from, the deterrent as well. Like, what can we do on a state level or a federal level? Because so many states are supported by those federal dollars that they feel compelled to enact those zero tolerance policies.
Right.
So, what's your take on that? What can we do about that?
For the zero tolerance policies, I think that's going to vary from state to state and school to schools. I just wanted to add this because we may have to jump off in just a little bit. One thing I wanted to just also pull out, in some school corporations in the state of Indiana, when you have an oversaturation of police officers in the building as security guards, and you have the metal detectors, and you have this culture that's established, it seems like it gets folks in the mindset like they're already in jail.
Yes.
So that's part of it too.
School definitely feels like jail. Public school.
Yeah, so it's a system, it's a culture, and I think a lot of innovation has to take place when it comes down to that. But like I said, I'm extremely happy that my brother is here, and he's able to reach and teach not just the youth, but give his perspective to educators and folks like that.
And Duke, we got to make that movie, Black Rocky, with your story. So I'm waiting for that script.
It's coming, man. We just got to keep putting it together. Now, Michelle, to the question with my son, you know, I left when he was 2 years old, but, you know, that was my first kid. So, you know, I made a vow to myself that I'm going to be in his life. I used every tool, every instrument that the BOP had to offer. I wrote. Sometimes, you know, I done whatever I could do, visits or whatever. And I prayed about our relationship. I prayed about our bond. And if you saw that video, you can only imagine how it was, you know. And man, we've been together every day, you know. I got my sweats on to go. He don't want to take me in the mall. He said, "Pops, man, your pants too big. We can't go in the mall. We're gonna go in the side store." And you know,
that's what I be trying to tell Dennis. I be trying to tell Dennis that.
Huh?
I be trying to tell Dennis about his pants. Pause, but that's another story.
Yeah, so you know, he got me in all these tight pants, man. What did you on? But you know, we got a bond and we got a relationship with. It was a couple of his little buddies that he grew up with. It's one little kid named Devin. Man, this little kid's special. You know, he lost his dad, you know, at a young age. So him and my son been friends for like a long time. So, you know, it goes back to what happened with Eddie. Like, we got to mentor these kids too, you know, because if ain't nobody there, some of these so-called leaders out here now, what did they lead them to? You know what I mean? So we got to stay in their ear. And it might not be your kid or whatnot. But little Shorty came and hugged me and embraced me so hard because for the last 10 years, I've been in his life too from behind the wall. So, you know, so we got a relationship that's like deep. I've been hanging out with more of them than some of my older homies. You know, I got some of my older homies like, man, bro, you don't want to pull up on it. I've been with a bunch of 18, 19-year-olds, just hanging out with them, talking and telling them the stories and letting them know, like, for real, this ain't what you want back there. You know, man, I'm living proof. I made it out of it now, but it's not worth it. We got to talk. We got to save these kids. You know what I mean?
Don't let your friends pressure you.
Hey, Duke, Duke, can I ask you a question? So your experience in prison, how was that? Was there anything rehabilitative? Any therapy? How did you deal with all the things that were in front of you? What was there anything that helped you while you were in there that they provided? And if not, what can we provide to help rehabilitate or at least help while someone's going through what you went through? Because not everybody is as clear as you.
To be honest, everything, I feel like it was self-rehabilitation. They not giving us nothing. You know, they on the outside talking like, yeah, this available, that is available, this available. We got this at this prison. They show y'all this beautiful menu that we eat these burgers and chicken every week. It's not cut like that. Now, it was one program. It's called the Life Connection Program. It's a faith-based program. It's 18 months. It's for people that's getting ready to go home. Now, that program, I took it when I had a life sentence. So the people like, what you trying to take it for? You got an elbow. You ain't going home. But I took it because it connected me on so many levels, and it's based on what you put in it. It teach you about parenting. It teach you about banking. It teach you about your victims. It teach you about so many different things. And the more you put in it, the more you get out of it. But my thing is, and what I think people should be talking about, is the sentencing reform. Because at the end of the day, I was telling the brother earlier, it's like going to the doctor and taking medication. If you're sick and you go to the doctor, he give you the right amount of medication, boom, the code is out of there. If he don't give you enough medication, you're going to have to come back and get a higher dose. But if he give you too much medication, it's either going to give you some type of disability or not kill you. Now, look at what they're doing with this prison time. Now, if you give a guy a little smack on the wrist, if he don't learn, guess what? He's going to come back. If you give him the right amount of time, he's going to go do what he needs to do, and you never see him again. But come on, you're giving a guy a life sentence. What do we have to live for? You killing him already. Thank God I didn't get killed, and I overcame it. I just say my tolerance was high. You know what I mean? That's why I tell people now, I'm allergic to corona. I can't catch that. You know what I mean? My faith too big for that. But we need to work on those type of things as well. And that's That's how we're going to help each other and really put some programs in. But we need some outside programs to where we are responsible for. If they put the programs in. If I've been at the jump 10 years, they let me teach the program. I might charge you a book and stamp. They ain't gonna tell you never come. I'm gonna give you the certificate. What did you learn? You got the program on your sheet. You know what I mean? But you didn't benefit from it.
And,
you know?
And I get it. And the last question I wanted to ask you was, when you do find out you're coming home, what do you feel about supporting yourself and how you're going to financially take care of your family when you get home? How does that make you feel, and what's your plans moving forward? And what does the general person that's in that situation coming home think and concerns? And how are they prepared to come home?
That goes back to the medicine situation. A lot of guys in my situation, they get that type of time. You know, you got some people that get short time, and they so-called friends and families get to, they get to break in camp, this, that, and the other. So therefore, dudes come home to nothing. You know what I mean? But at the end of the day, you have to be able to plan. And actually, man, this brother was talking about that later to where, he was teaching me even things that I didn't even learn, saying like, look, after next month or whatnot, I want you to sit down and start writing out, like, how much did it cost you to live this month? What did you need and what did you just want? And so therefore we can have a kind of little balance on what does it take for you to survive. And then you got to go out and get it. Now, if you didn't have a situation to where you could go work a 9 to 5 or go get another job, what do? You don't do nothing. So 9 times out of 10, guess what you do? You end back up doing what you was doing.
That's what I'm saying.
You know what I'm saying?
It's preparing you to come back.
That's it. And that comes with the prison reform. They not giving the trays out no more. They keeping you, like, for example, I was all the way in Pennsylvania. I'm from Gary, Indiana. Why you didn't send me to a jail in Indiana? You send me all of these miles away because you got all these prisons and you just want to put bodies in there. We bodies on top of bodies on top of bodies. For what? You don't want to move a guy. So therefore, if I took certain programs at Allenwood, like, for example, with me, I took a lot of programs. So at the last prison that I was just at Allenwood, the programs that was left to us for like, short timers like flagger and stuff like that, driving a forklift, it was for people that was short. But because I had my out date was November 2030. So every time new shortcomers come in, it bumps me back at the back of the list. Now look, I actually do, man, let me take the class. Once I gave back an elbow, you don't know what can happen to me. What if he would have let me take the class? I could have learned how to drive a forklift. What if I wanted to get a job? He didn't even let me learn it. So the dudes that he put ahead of me, guess what? I'm at home and they still in prison right now. But you pushed me to the back. You didn't want me to rehabilitate. You didn't want me to learn.
Hey Duke, let me just bring in our next guest real quick, Loon. Loon he's gonna jump off in a minute, but I know he wanted to say what's up to you. Loon, you on here? Jump on there, Loon.
My brother Loon.
What's up, brother?
Oh, where you at?
I know he was getting ready to go pray. So I wanted to try to get him on. He said he wanted to say what's up to Duke, but Duke, he definitely wanted to tell you how proud he was of you, and he said he got an opportunity to speak to you the other day. So y'all got a lot of work to do together. So he said he just texted me and said he got to go pray. So I know he's doing the right thing, man.
Hey, make sure you tell him, man. We took a picture. My manager Troy took a picture of us. What were you doing?
Oh, they FaceTime.
We FaceTiming, right? So they take the picture of us. We both smiling so hard, and everybody like, man, y'all look like dead. Brothers, y'all look just alike. Except for you got the big old beard and whatnot.
They like brothers.
Hey, dang, man, you gotta send me one of the robes, man. My son said I gotta put that robe. I gotta get the Versace robe like you, man.
I got you. Yeah, I got you.
So, Dennis, let's bring someone else that's waiting in the wings into this conversation. Everybody in his family. We got a lot of people waiting back there.
That's right. So let's bring in Man Patterson from Mount Vernon.
We got to jump off. Thank you all so
much. All right,
much.
fellas. Thank y'all so much.
Hey, listen, man. I love y'all, man. And, man, I want to do whatever I can, man, to help So whatever I can do to help in any type of way, I'm willing to go all the way with it. I don't care if it's just you might see a little kid that ain't got nobody to talk to. Man, give him my number and let me call him and try to put some wisdom in his ear, so therefore he don't go back, man. Please,
we definitely got to get him in the OSG network.
For that.
You definitely got to get him in the. And also, I got to do your OG stories.
Man, I'm ready, man. With the center, just set it up. I'm ready for you whenever you want to do it, bro.
Whenever you're ready, I'm here. Next 2 weeks.
Right, I can't wait. You're gonna go what? 20-0? That's what's up next.
Hey, look.
Oh, yo.
20-0.
Hey, look. I'm getting another one in there. Like I said, I know too much it can hurt. You know what I'm saying? So I gotta try my luck.
You fighting cruiserweight.
I'm trapping my head.
You fighting cruiserweight, right?
Yeah, I'm gonna be able to make 205. So tell Roy to make me look good with the Tyson fight. He my dream fight, man. Coming 205. Either he beat me up, I beat him up. I don't want to do the exhibition though. I want to fight. So either he beat me up or I beat him up, and we shake hands and hugs because I love dude, man. I never met him, but I love him, man. He my favorite fighter. So if anybody beat me up, I'd rather beat him. You know what I'm saying? He could be like my big brother, like he beat me up.
Or if whoever you rather knock your big brother out too.
Or I get down on him, you know what I'm saying? And then I hug him at the end and be like, man, it's over with, old head. Move around.
Listen, Muhammad Ali had that same experience.
Hey, Dave, tell me how you know hot boxing, man.
Definitely. I'm definitely holler. I'm
ready for the story. Dane, set it up, all right?
Bet. I'm gonna try to set that up.
You make the date, I'm ready. I'm going. Whatever the date is, you make it.
Hey, Senator.
You already know, Senator. I'm active whenever.
I'll text you later. I might want Duke to come on tomorrow on OSG to talk to the principal. So if Duke is available tomorrow, 4 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, I want him on talking to the principals. All right.
All right, I'll get y'all connected.
Hey man,
no doubt, fellas. Y'all take care.
Easy, okay?
Love y'all too.
Good night.
All right, dude. Wow, that was powerful. You know, Dane. You know, I find that as of late, man, me and you've been doing a lot of fighting, man. You know. I guess for whatever reason, I'm starting to think I'm starting to be more like you, man, and I appreciate that, Dame. I appreciate everything that you've done and how you teach me how to buck and to fight when you need to fight. And so I just want you to know a number of love between me and you always, Paul. But you know how me and you go.
Do me a favor. After this, I want you to listen to that Ralph Transvent song. That sensitivity song. Sensitive. You know we ain't over here.
My God. Absolutely. Well, come on, Michelle. Bring it on next set. Bring it.
So I heard someone shout out Mayor Sean.
Mayor's sister,
auntie, everyone's best friend.
Yeah.
We love this lady. Jack of all trades, dropping home every week. Hi.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Good seeing you. Hey, Michelle.
Hey.
What's going on? I really enjoyed Duke. I enjoyed the Senator. Good look.
Well, now it's a lady's turn right here, because for anyone who does not know, Miss Mayor Shawn Patterson Howard, I believe, is the first African-American woman.
First woman,
period. To hold that seat in
she holds it well.
Mount Vernon. So Mayor Shawn has been on with OSG consistently now for a few weeks. And from day one, I think everyone who's ever been on the call has just been so in love with you. You just have a natural way of speaking to us, and it's so passionate and real and authentic. So we couldn't let one town hall go without hearing from the Honorable Mayor Shawn Patterson Howard. So you could talk on either side, because you've held many jobs. You've told us about directly on the front lines, men and women. We know that you're big on bail reform, penal reform. And, just talk to us about, like, the schools in Mount Vernon and what you see happening there.
Well, I mean, when we're talking about the school to prison pipeline, this is a national issue. This is a national issue. Every day in this country right now, over 48,000 young people are in a facility, are in some type of detention facility, whether it's an adult prison, whether it's a juvenile detention facility, group homes, over 48,000 young people. And when we talk about the school to prison pipeline, it's real because we're not investing in education the way that we're investing in incarceration. I'm going to say that. We don't invest in education. We invest in incarceration. And so when we're looking at, some people say, oh, we're spending $20,000 a year on students, $25,000 a year on educating a young person. Look, Louisiana in 2014 spent the least amount a year on incarcerating juveniles, and that was $45,000. In 2014, okay, New York was spending $350,000 a year. You can send a person to Harvard. You could send 3 or 4 students to Harvard annually for the amount of money that we're spending on incarcerating one young person in the state of New York. That's real. But when they come out of jail, when they come out of these group homes, they're not coming out with a Harvard education. They're not coming out with a Harvard pedigree. They're not coming out with Harvard connections. I didn't say Howard. I said Harvard. I went to Howard. But so when you're spending $350,000 a year on a young person, to incarcerate them, to lock them up, and to give them nothing. And when they come home, they have nothing. We're setting them up for recidivism. We're setting them up. So the school to prison pipeline is real. The prison industry complex is real. It's no joke. One of the biggest things you said, so kind of what causes it? Because that was one of the questions y'all were asking earlier. We have so many of our young people, and you said it, our young people are traumatized. We talk about the ACE studies, and what trauma young people have gone through. Do they have a parent in incarceration? Are they at home and watching a parent being beaten? Are they verbally, mentally, emotionally abused? Do they have food to eat every morning on a daily basis? What are they seeing in the neighborhoods that they're growing up? What's causing them to lose their focus? And do you have a parent who's addicted? And then we expect them to go to school, and we expect them to go to school and focus. And no one's understanding why a lot of our little young boys are acting out. None of us understand why our young girls are a little fresh. Because when we're at home, we treat our young girls and our young boys like they're adults. We are in such a rush for these babies to grow up. And so that's what we call a parentified youth. 8-year-old little girls shouldn't be twerking and working. They should be playing with dolls. But we're talking about, look, you ain't no baby. Stop crying. Shut up. Do this. Take care of your brothers, take care of your sisters. And then we send them to school and we want them to sit there and listen to a teacher. Some of these are the same kids that we have at home taking care and helping to take care of the house and the babies because parents are working. And that's real. So it's not a judgment, but we can't treat our babies like grown people at home and in the community and then send them to school and want them to sit and be taught all day. And so we're always talking about the young boys and their rate of incarceration. Well, the girls' rates of incarceration and disciplinary action and expulsion from school is catching up quick. It's catching up quick because people don't see our children as children. They see them as a threat. So a young man at like 10 years old, you treat him like he's someone 16 or 17 years old and you you kick him out of school. It's the same thing with our young women. They tend to be a little more physically mature. They got a little more attitude with them. And because...
hold on, Mayor Patterson. So you use the term attitude. I can't go no further without bringing in my sister, Priscilla Etchie. Come on in, Miss Attitude.
Hey, Princess P, Social Butterfly.
Hello.
How you doing? Priscilla, you're muted. Unmute. She's not hitting it. Well, while we're waiting on her to unmute. So, that's one of the things. So, because we're spending that amount of money on incarceration, and a lot of states are spending 5 times more on incarcerating a young person than they are educating a young person.
Right.
That formula is backwards. You can't tell me that we believe in education. And so because we're not educating them, they're going to jail. Because we're not providing them with services in jail, they come home and they just continue to fuel the adult prison system. And that's real talk. I'm not a socialist. I'm just a realist.
Hey, Mayor Sister. The reason why I call you Mayor Sister.
Can I interject really quick because I'm Miss Attitude, as Dennis said.
The reason why I call you Mayor.
The prison pipeline is very personal to me because I was in it. You know, there's something inherently wrong about sending youth to school and then pushing them into the prison pipeline. It's an educational and a societal mishap that's happening right under our noses. And if we don't do something now to dismantle it, it's going to continue to degrade our communities. So I've experienced it. I've been inside of it. I went through what's called the Pence petition when I was 13 years old, which for those who don't know, that's called a person in need of supervision. And when they coerced my mom to sign me over to the state, then you become a ward of the state. And then you are basically caught up in a system, as my good sis Sean said, is $350,000. I had it at $148,000 a year. That's $400 a day to house a juvenile.
That's the national average. That's the national average. So when you talk about New York, we're closer to 350,000. We're a little bit more than that a day. But when so when you balance New York and Louisiana, that you're coming out with that mean score. But in a lot of our communities where you have higher rates of detention, you're talking about that higher money that we're paying for. And it's Black and brown communities.
So how do you
Mayor Patterson,
take that money back?
Michelle, I promise not to bother. I promise not to interrupt again. But Loon came back on. He said he just wanted to come in and say hello. He has to leave he got to leave in about 10 minutes, but he didn't want to leave without speaking to Mayor Patterson, you, and Priscilla. So come on in, Loon.
Hey, Loon.
Hey, Loon.
Assalamu alaikum, my brother.
Unmute.
You got to unmute, Loon.
Unmute, Loon.
I can hear you. There you go.
So with that echo.
Yes, welcome.
How's everybody doing?
Wonderful.
Good, Loon.
Moon was good.
All right, listen, I've been here listening, and, of course, coming from Harlem, I can relate to all these different scenarios, all these different variations of, destroys the, hold on a second.
Hey, can we do something about that echo?
You're muted.
Oh, unmute me.
You muted yourself.
I definitely have a question for the ladies.
Is there anything we can do about that echo?
Hold on a second. How you turn this off?
Is there anything we can do about that echo?
It's only not talking.
So really quickly, while we're waiting for Amir, he's back. All right.
Real quick, I just wanted to say that, growing up in school, I was raised by my grandparents. And, when the crack era came, it definitely impacted our communities, immensely. And I was one of the victims of that epidemic because my mom and my pops, they were legends in the street. They used to run with Nicky Barnes. My grandfather just passed 2 years ago. He was real tight with Bumpy Johnson. And I grew up around the Rich Alpos and AZs. So, I come from 3 generations, pretty much a hustlers, But, just like everybody in the 70s, they fell to the crack era. These were the people who were, driving in the street game. And, when this free base of this crack came through, it ripped everybody down. I literally watched, people that used to be teachers, gradually going through the transformation of, going from public servants, people who had state jobs, dudes that had a lot of money, so on and so forth. Just literally, a lot of this generation, they never seen that. You know what I'm saying? I don't know what the epidemic that struck them now as far as what, you know, affects the youth today. You know, I'm aware of some of the things, but I'm just saying what was so impactful was when crack came through. So me as a kid, you know, academically I was sharp. You know, I love school. You know, school is definitely a place of refuge for me. And it actually aided me, and it was therapeutic for me in this sense because it took my mind off my mother. You know, I had my grandmother, I had my grandfather. I knew what love was. I had structure. I was in a home where I was loved and cared for. But you never really fully function right without your mother or without your father. You know, because there's never no replacement for that. And I believe that a lot of my behavior issues came from that yearning, you know, to have my mother or to, you know, be with my mother or constantly, like every time I hear sirens, gunshots, whatever, and I never knew where my mother was, you know, and I knew the type of things that used to happen to people back then. You know, the murder rate was ridiculous. You know what I'm saying? So every time you heard shots and smoke clear, there was always somebody laid out. And back then, you know, Dame, you remember, you only had like one meat truck for the whole 5 boroughs. So you could lay out there for 17 hours while they picking up bodies in Brooklyn and Bronx and all that. By the time they come to Harlem, we done went, seen the body, went, played ball, took a shower, changed clothes, came back, you still laid out. You know, so a lot of things that we was exposed to that, you know, this generation can't really identify with that trauma. A lot of it is self-inflicted here, but we were dealing with something that just, you know, swooped through our neighborhoods and took all of us by surprise. So anyway, academically, I went to some of the best schools, you know what I'm saying? I got kicked out of pretty much every school I went to, you know what I'm saying? I went to PS 84, you know what I'm saying, 194 on 44th Street. And I was in the same block as LA, dude that put Rich Porter on. I was in that block. Sickle had all the stores and stuff on, you know what I'm saying, on 7th Avenue. So, like, this is what I was exposed to. Yeah, Big Apple, you know what I'm saying, across the street, Pinball City. So the community, you know, was lit. You know, we had all of these things that substituted for what was actually going on out there. You know what I'm saying? So these were the things that kind of distracted us as kids, and we still had the ability to have kids, even though there was an epidemic that was brewing. And back then, because I'm just learning today what a community school, you know, actually, you know, entails as far as reaping the benefits of budgeting and so on and so forth. But I always feel like I'm a part of the community school. You know what I'm saying? Because the community was involved. Everybody in the community was involved, not just from, you know, businesses and other, you know, certain state or city departments. It was also everybody in the community as well. You know what I'm saying? Like, when you did something wrong in school, you might have got passed down all the way till you got home. Like, I mean, like, ass got whipped simultaneously all the way till you got home. You know what I'm saying? Because that was a part of how the community worked.
That's that old school love.
Yeah, you know, by the time you get home, ass raw. Like, you actually, you try to broker for punishment. Like, I just stay in the house for a couple of days. I can't get beat no more. But anyway, my acting out, you know, my behavior issues came from, you know, an absence, which was my mother. But academically, I was story. You know, a lot of y'all know, like, on the academic side of the report card, I had all E's. When you turn that joint to the other side, it was all U's. You know what I'm saying? Everything plays well with others, all of that. My whole behavior joint on the other side of the report card. You know what I'm saying? That's why when my grandmother liked to give it, so I had to give it to the academic side first, because I know I had A's, satisfactory, excellence, A's, whatever the case may be. But as soon as she flipped that joint over, it was a consistent reality that, you know, plagued me all the way through school. I actually had to go to therapy. You know what I'm saying? This was provided back then that, you know, I couldn't even go to public school without therapy. So for 4 years, every Monday and Thursday, there was a city college student that was actually getting school credit for giving me therapy sessions.
That was provided through the school?
Well, it was recommended by the school in order for me, it was a condition, in order for me to go to public school. It wasn't like this was a condition.
When you bet, I had to go through the same thing, Loon.
Yeah.
I had to go to therapy twice a week, and I didn't talk to him, you know. But you know what's crazy, Loon? Like, all these things you're saying and all the names I'm hearing, that was our normal. We didn't think that there was anything wrong with it. We didn't recognize it as trauma. We didn't know that 98% of the world doesn't have to see people get killed, doesn't have to sell drugs to eat, and doesn't have to see women get beat and men get beat and all that. Our normal was so much different than the average normal, to the extent that going to jail is part of our normal.
Yeah. But I'm going to tell you what's so unique about my story. Because even though I excelled academically, you know what I'm saying, that my behavior issues, I remember always having these gatherings with principals and stuff like that, who always took in consideration that academically I soared. You know what I'm saying? But my behavior was definitely unacceptable. You know what I'm saying? I didn't really have a voice. You know what I'm saying? I didn't know how to articulate the pain. You know what I'm saying? The pain was there, and it was only known to adults. But like Dane said, to your peers, it was normal. Mm-hmm. Because when you get in congregation with your peers, it's like, oh yeah, my mom get hot too. You know, oh yeah, my pops, that nigga locked up. And it was just a common conversation that made it this kind of sadistic normality that we accepted. You know, and that is what we call unrecognized trauma. You know, but the academics, the desire now, because I was so appreciative of my grandmother. My grandmother's 90 years old right now. I'm trying to like tend to her from here. Then I come up to New York and I'm like, you know, trying to spend time with her. But my grandmother didn't have to raise me. You know what I'm saying? And I was always mindful of that. And no matter how much, you know, she loved me and cared for me, it was just that void that needed to be filled, that she couldn't fill because she was not actually my mother, but she was my mother. My mother was like my sister in the street. Honestly, Pokemon was so dope, like drugs. My mother, my sister. I did stuff with her that I do with my peers. Right. Everybody on the street know Carol Hawkins. Everybody. She gave a lot of them their first $100. Jay Black, all of them. Like, they got their first $100 from Carol Hawkins. And she in the Mr. Untouchable documentary heavy. Yeah, no question. You know what I'm saying?
I was like, that's Loon's mother? I couldn't believe it.
Yeah.
Wow, okay.
Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So now, this is the funny thing. I didn't start declining rather, until I moved to California. I went to Beverly Hills High School.
What brought that on?
Well, my godfather, he from...
That was a well-to-do school, or you were... Yeah, what brought that on?
Well, basically, I was originally Fresh Prince. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is 89. You know, a friend of mine had got shot in, like, July. And that was kind of like the straw that broke the bull's back. Because, you know, at the time, you know, I'm doing unspeakable things that never get home. You know what I'm saying? So now when it got, like, close to home and it became recognized now that you ain't just out there fighting. You know what I'm saying? Because we was fighting. We grew up fighting. I fought 75% of my friends. Like, you couldn't even be friends unless we fought. It was always that great area.
He's from 40th. That's one of the wildest blocks in Harlem. 40th.
Yeah. Yeah, we had to fight. It was always that underlying mystery, like, you know, like, I think, like, what you just said, like, what you trying to say, or, like, when girls come around, it's like, oh, you acting different. Like, it was always we had to suffice those things before we could really, really share space. So I fought 75% of my friends before we become friends. So, you know, I grew up in that environment. So now when it excelled to shooting, my grandma was like, nah, you out of here. You know what I'm saying? So my godfather, he was George Jackson. He passed in 2000. He's the guy that produced Crush Groove, Disorderly, New Jack City, In Line Between Love and Hate, you know, the Eddie and Malcolm show. He was the president of Motown. He signed 98 Degrees. He had a real spill with Dame. Everybody, he even knew Dame. He told me one day, like, yo, who was this Dame Dash dude? Because Dame got listed with him on the phone and all that. You know, George is out of his element because he was a movie guy. Clarence Avant had brought him over to Motown, and he got his first taste of what the music business was like from Dame. He literally called me like, yo, who is this Dame Dash dude talking to me like he crazy? You know, I said, yo, that's not Dame dude. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know what to tell you. I don't know what the conversation was about. But I wouldn't take it that serious. That's just him expressing himself. You know, but this is serious. This was like, you know, it wasn't even like something that was going forward. It was just like crazy because he had, under the tutelage of Clarence Avant, came and took this position at Motown. But he was a movie guy. That wasn't his element. But he still did good. He signed 98 Degrees. He bought you Nick Lachey. So anyway, I get to Beverly Hills High School. This is where, you know, this is where you least likely to think that a person would start to decline in his scholastic career. And that's what really took place. Because now I was exposed to things that was totally contrary to what I was exposed to in Harlem. It was a whole different thing. Basically, I didn't think you could be so rich that you're miserable.
So I want to bring the ladies in on that as well, because it seems as if, you know, no matter where you are, we're all prone to getting in trouble, right?
And that's the point I wanted to make.
And I want to also share from the ladies' perspective. So Ms. Priscilla and Mia Shawn, jump in on this right now. We've heard stories from Duke, Luna Mia, about what plagued them. And Dylan has even come and said he's had a lot of the same experiences from a male perspective, but we know that our girls are equally as likely to get in trouble. And I know Mayor Shawn just touched on that in terms of at home sometimes our girls are a little bit more mature, and then when they get back into the school, they're fixed with issues, you know, with the teachers and things like that. So could you consider, like, just bring us all together, because I think we're saying the same thing. Like, what is that perspective from being a young girl growing up in this system? What was that like?
It was challenging, because you don't have a safe circle that will actually allow you. You don't have teachers at the time that have the bandwidth to ask you a 3-word question, are you okay? They don't have the bandwidth to actually see if you're okay. So you end up acting out. And as just to piggyback off what Loon was saying, because of the issues he was going through with his mom, that kind of manifests itself in your behavior. And as my good sis was saying, with girls, you don't really get a chance to, you're considered fresh. If you're a hyper creative and you act out because you have nobody to talk to, you're dealing with adult issues as a child. You're food insecure. You're going through all of these issues, and you just don't know who that you can go to talk to. So for me, as a hyper creative and acting out in that way, I wasn't understood. And I was put on a PINS petition. And then I was signed over to the state. And basically you have the school system and the court system convincing your guardian that the best thing to do is to sign you over so that they can make money off of you. And then when they sign you over so that they can make money off you, it's hundreds of thousands of dollars more than it would cost just to get you a social worker, a therapist. At $10,400 a year for a social worker or a therapist, you're talking about $300,000 from the state. So then you know what type of game is being played. You cost money as a child. So being sent away, it was hard. You know, you feel like nobody understands you. There's nobody to talk to. You can't go back to your home because, again, you're facing those adult issues, and you're sent away, and now you just have to deal with that. And as you're sent away, you have people that, like Khalif Browder, when they check in, they don't check back out mentally. And they kill themselves. If it wasn't for the grace of God in many of our lives, in my life, what I can say is, I would have never checked back in. But I chose to become better and not bitter. You know, I chose to take those vicissitudes I went through and channel it into creating programs to help people like myself that had nobody to go to. If it wasn't for platforms like this that actually speak on the subject of the school to prison pipeline for the solutions, what would we have? You know, it's a tough situation, especially for girls, because this war on our Black and brown children is not gender specific. It's boys and girls that are being affected by this issue. So, I mean, for me, what I can say is it was tough. And it took my praying grandmother that prayed over me day in, day out. And those prayers still affect me to this day and push me through and allow me to do some of the work that I'm doing now. So I'm grateful for that. But like I said, it's a challenge for me.
I just want real quick, I gotta go. I just want to expound on that. One thing I learned about, the female perspective, I have nothing but women in my family. You know what I'm saying? A lot of women in my family. So it's either you're gonna be a protector or you're gonna jump double dutch. That's really how it goes. Like you know what I'm saying? Like my little brother got caught out there. He got real attached to the girls, and it affected him and some other way. But my point I'm trying to make is, when I grew up in an environment that women like Priscilla, or women in general, like yourself as well, Michelle, if you didn't have, like a wild brother, a no-nonsense father, or like some killer cousins, or whatever the case may be, you was fooled. You know what I mean? And that's really how the hood used to work. It's like, you get actually, makeshift brothers, or you forward these type of allegiances with other men in order to put some security around you in an environment that's like the jungle, and that's the thing about what I witnessed, and I never condoned it, and it always, I'm a protector. Anybody in my family will tell you that I'm super overprotective about the women in my family, and these type of things I used to see growing up, and I understood the plight of women in my neighborhood. It was sad to see girls who really was trying to push through, go to school, and really try to hold on to their dignity and their honor. Because the one time you relinquish that innocence, dudes in the hood ain't gonna never let you live that up. And you always, and every girl, just like every guy at some point, we all make the mistake and elope with the wrong dude. It'd be like this Kilimanjaro kid, whatever his name. Like, why you mess with that dude? Then next thing you know, your whole life is revolved around this dude's mental state. You know what I'm saying? And it's like you literally got to check in with him to actually go and try to pursue an education or a life. It's all contingent upon whether or not it's acceptable to him. And I used to hate that stuff because it's like I always believed in building women up, building your peers up, like being loyal to the process. It's like we all in a situation together, but you got predators. You know what I'm saying? And this accountability has to come in our communities. Like we got predators. You know what I'm saying? That dudes that prey on the weak. And those are the dudes I hate. I used to bully bullies. I don't like bullies. I never liked bullies. I never liked dudes that would impose their strength on people that was weaker than them. I used to hate dudes that used to come around junior highs from high school. It's like, high school, how you come around junior high trying to push your line or whatever case may be. But not to digress. It's like, that's something that I know for a fact destroyed a lot of women's education, is that one innocent choice, to entertain intimacy or whatever the case may be, or try to establish a relationship with a dude that sound real nice. First thing in the morning, you're going to school, you're on the block. We got the nicest things to say while you're on your way to school, while you're on your way to work. And once you get locked in, you really messing with a dude on the corner, or you really messing with a dude who's a cold killer, or you messing with a dude that, don't mean no good. And that one choice, I seen it destroy a lot of girls' lives. I'm talking about a lot of girls, whether it be the dude himself or other girls that's in opposition to your position, they coming through, they bringing you fever as well. So it's like all of these things.
That's just self, Lone. I'm sitting here and I'm listening, and it's like, I know we're about to close up. I want everyone to share, what is your biggest, what is the one thing that you want everybody to walk away from this discussion? And it's real. And it's, to me, I just heard from you that we have to protect our young girls.
Yeah.
We have to, try to preserve their innocence. From talking to you, I heard a respect around community and the importance of a community school. And I'm going to be honest, I actually had never heard what you and James spoke about, where they kind of mandated you to have that twice a week, therapy session, because in so many of our schools, there was a lack of guidance counselors and social workers and those outside of the classroom that our children could really go to where they can have those one-on-one discussions. So to me, that's the takeaway that I've heard from you. And I'd like to also hear from Priscilla and Mayor Sean when we close up. What is the biggest thing that you want us to take away, in terms of how are we really going to disrupt this thing and, keep our kids in school and out of the criminal system?
I'm gonna say that. I'm gonna say this, and I'm gonna bounce if you don't mind. I don't mean to skip the line. I really honestly believe, and I said this the first time that we discussed the issues in school. I truly believe that the root of all of this, the solution, it starts at home. Like, we gotta redirect our attention on what we want, because we trying to trim the hedges. Like, we gotta go to the root, because we just recently starting to learn how to identify with all these other sophisticated issues. You know what I'm saying? We're being diverted from the issues that we're familiar with and the issues that we do have the capacity to address. So we find ourselves trying to get at these big tables and get into the meat of these other, higher echelon issues. When I think that we lost focus on the community. And I think all of us play share some guilt of that in some way, shape, or form. And that's kind of what Duke was saying about, we got to get back out here and grab these kids. We got to get back out here. You know what I'm saying? We done got, so, it's a lot for just one individual when you're trying to, sustain your own home. You got family, you got responsibilities and so on and so forth. But it does not exclude us from the responsibility to tend to home. And home not just meaning your immediate house. It means the communities that you grew up in. You survived something that, the blueprint to that survival. So if you take that, that methodology away, you leave it and you get exactly what you see now. These kids trying to implement the stories they used to hear about certain individuals. Because that's what it is. They going off for all the stories. They watch Paid in Full. You know what I'm saying? They heard stories about Lou Sims and all these type of dudes, that was making noise, and they try to implement it based off hearsay. None of these people were present, to redirect, this false narrative. So we kind of left this generation to fend for themselves. You know what I'm saying? So I honestly believe that it has to be more invested in how we return back to home. Because when you watch Rocky, I'm going to leave on this note. Every time Rocky get knocked out, he go right back to Philly chasing chickens and punching meat. He go right back to the way Mickey first trained him. He goes back to the source. He don't go away from it, because deviating from it what got him knocked out. As soon as he go back to the source, everything starts to, work itself out. So I honestly think that going back to the source, going back to reestablishing the foundation in which all of this is established upon. Because education and all of these things are all tied in. They all tied to how, this rest of the education, like when you go to school could just be a pastime, depending on how it's structured at home. But if it becomes something, if it becomes something that's applicable to, a stability in the home, then you're being groomed to stabilize yourself when you mature enough and you become an adult. But if you don't know that your contribution to, you pursuing an education is contingent upon bringing stability to the home, then you don't see the responsibility that's tied into the necessity of getting the education. Because it's a responsibility as well, but it's also a necessity that you achieve this for yourself. But the responsibility is we have to keep the education in the house. You know what I'm saying? We have to keep that foundation within the home. And it has to be something that, is simultaneous with everything in the surrounding areas as far as the community as well. And that's where I think, a lot of us would be very effective if we were to put our heads together and roll something out that reflects on that agenda.
Can I bring Priscilla in on that for your final word, Miss Priscilla? And then Mayor Sean?
Absolutely. I think I totally agree with Loon. And then there are some of those who do not have both parents in the household or even one parent in the household. But if they do have a parent in the household, I say that they need to work with the social workers and therapists and kind of Scottie Pippen our principals and educators and do the preventative work. If you do the preventative work, you won't get to, as Dennis said, the prison aspect of it. If we do things like fill out our census so that we can get the correct amount of money into our communities so that we can provide these programs that will help the children that have been at a disadvantage, like, say, Arun or myself. And I lastly want to say that for the parents that are in the home, we need to educate the parents on all the resources that are available and make sure we are exhausting all the possibilities before we sign our kids off to the state on like a PINS petition or something of that nature. And many of us, as I said before, going in may not necessarily mean that you're going to make it out. So we have to do the preventative work to ensure that our kids are being taken care of. So that's my take on it.
I'm still here, man. I'm here.
Thank you, Mayor Sean. You always give us some words of wisdom, and as we close up tonight, we would like to give you the final word, in terms of what we need to do, to really be disruptive. I've heard a lot about back to the source and the community and the focus on home and, social work and other programs in school. Just tell us, what is the biggest takeaway that you want, everyone to hear today that could be the biggest disruption to what we're dealing with?
The biggest disruption to what we're dealing with is that we have to stop looking for everyone else to solve our problems. Okay? So, I know I'm auntie in the head and best friend, but you get ready to see a whole different side of me, the realist. I'm a social worker. Social workers can't save our babies. Educators, we're looking for everyone else to either blame or to save us. We can't blame everybody for where we are. There's some real things, and there's real institutional barriers that are against us, but no one's going to be able to save us but ourselves. We're talking about the teachers, the educators, the administrators. People were raised in the civil rights time where everything was against us. And you had a whole bunch of uneducated mothers on the block and church mamas and men who just had character that looked out for our babies. And that's what we've lost. We got some money in our pocket, and we addicted to that money in our pocket. And so we'll chase that dollar and we'll chase that relationship more than we'll put time into our babies in these neighborhoods. And so everybody's rushing, they coming and they going, they trying to make ends meet. We've always tried to make ends meet. We've always struggled as a people. We've always been financially disadvantaged. But we still took out time to invest in our young people. And so my challenge is this, because it's not, the only solution is us. My challenge is this: take 2 hours out of a week to mentor and speak into the life and spend time with a young person that's not related to you. Tutor a young person. Have conversations. They're not looking to be impressed by your shoes, by your clothes, by your hair, by your cars. They're looking for someone to have a conversation with them. You don't need a degree to say you're making bad choices. Go to school, pay attention, read your books. Some things are really simple. And I think one of the things is that we've become so sophisticated that we've lost our way. We've become so educated. And some of us got such fat pockets, our babies, and we have to speak life into them. Dennis said when we were up at Children's Village, he said, we messed up. we hurt our babies. He said, I'm sorry that we weren't there to have conversations at the dinner table. I'm sorry that we not taking out time. Be really clear. I was raised by a single mother. I did not have a silver spoon in my mouth. I worked full time since I was at the end of 9th grade, and I got married at 19. No one gave me anything. I made some bad choices. A lot of us as young girls, whether you got pregnant as a teenager and you had that baby or you had an abortion, many of us were date raped. Many of us ran and we chased after the guys who had a little bit of money. Many of us dated older guys because we were tired of listening to our mothers and our fathers or whoever was in our life, and we wanted to be grown. So we saw much more and we experienced much more than we should have ever experienced between the ages of 14 and 18 years old. But we have to make decisions, and we have to hold ourselves to a higher level of responsibility than we are right now. We can't do it all. But whether you have a master's degree, a doctorate's degree, or you got a degree from the block of life, you have something that you can say that can make a difference and an impact in a young person's life. So stop and speak to them. Stop and say hi. When you see them standing on the block, stop, what's up, little man? What's up, little girl? What's up, little queen? Not to get in their drawers, but to speak life and encourage them. That's what we need to do. And some of that is just really, really basic. You don't need a degree to mentor a child. You don't need a degree to encourage them. And you don't need a degree to tell them that they're going in the wrong direction. Life right now is about choices. And we're either going to make the choice to go the right way or we're going to make a choice to go the wrong way. And as we see them going the wrong way, we got to invest. And we also have to pay attention. If that child is bringing money into the house that you can't explain, I know your pockets might be tight and you might want that plasma, you might want that flat screen, but you got to make sure that you can't ignore what's happening and then sit there and cry when that baby's blood is rolling down the street or they get incarcerated. We got to pay attention to what's happening to our babies. And I was at a vigil a few weeks ago because it was about a shooting. And one of the mothers said, get in your kid's phone the way you get in your man's phone. Get in your kid's phone the way you get in your man's phone. We know where our man is at. We got apps tracking them, where they at, where you been, why ain't you get home on time. And our kids, we don't know where they at. We don't know who they hanging with. We don't know who their friends are. We talking about I ain't going to their room. No, be a mother, be an auntie, be a grandmother. You have every right to be in their business. And if you're not being in their business, you're going to be visiting them in jail or you're going to be visiting them at a graveside. And that might sound hard, and I'm not Republican, I'm not conservative, I'm not judging anybody, I'm just being honest. And sometimes as family, we have to have an honest and a hard conversation with each other because it's not the time to have that honest conversation when we go and visiting them 5 states away. Or when we're burying them, or we lighting candles, or we wearing their name on a T-shirt, and then we're doing that. And we sit here and we put so much emphasis on what happens when our babies, when something goes wrong. If I was a young person and I had no hope, then everyone celebrates you after you're dead. What are we doing to celebrating our kids that are doing the right thing or trying to do the right thing? But after they die, we got on T-shirts. After they die, we got vigils. After we blowing up, we got 20 by 30, inch pictures of them on the fence. And so we got to sit there and give that same energy to these kids who are trying to do something right or who are going the wrong way and we pulling them back. We just have to invest in our babies. Superman is not coming to save us. We have to save ourselves. We had it on the T-shirt when we marched. When we marched, Priscilla, it said, we all we got and we all we need. And we sit here and start refocusing on our children and our community and doing what we need to do and stop waiting for somebody else to come and do it, then it's going to be different. We can't talk about what the white man is doing. We got to talk about and have a hard conversation about what we're not doing. And I'm not saying that's for the OSG family because y'all are in schools and y'all are working with these babies, but I'm talking about for our larger community. What is it that we are not doing that is failing our babies?
And Mayor Patterson, Dame says it a lot. Dame is a big proponent of us understanding our oppressors they're here to oppress us, period. They're not here for any other reason. They're not here for any other reason. And so when I hear you say that, all I keep hearing Dame keep reminding everybody is that the change that we're looking to be, we're that change.
We're that change.
And again, and you know, it's funny, like I said, it's always weird to me how when you go back years, decades of hearing Dame say what he said, the stuff that Dame is saying, Mayor Patterson, and he's always said, is something very similar to what you said. We are going to change the narrative. It's about us and what we're going to do. So, I mean, you know, before we get out of here, definitely need to hear Dame. You know what I mean? Dame heard and said a lot today. And I think that it's only fitting that our brother, you know, really, you know, drive the point home about what we as OSG are doing, what we're going to continue to do. And, you know, Priscilla and Mayor Patterson and everybody else who's come on, they're part of the family. So, Dame, you know, what would you like to share with the people before we get up out of here?
Well, first and foremost, what I love the most about everyone that's speaking about the people is they are the people. So when I look at politicians, like I see a president that's a billionaire. Every Republican president has either been an actor or a billionaire since the last, 2 decades. You can't relate to people. Everyone here has been through everything that everyone else has been through. Everyone here, when they say things, they're familiar to me. They're familiar to everybody. It's all relatable. What's happened, what I'm seeing, is we are all aware. We've been enlightened enough to know that we can control the narrative. We don't need them. And forums like this, where we talk about what we're going to do, we recognize those problems, and we also celebrate the people that are fighting for us. Like the mayor. Just watching Priscilla, she's about to run for city council. She's going to take her experience and her pain, and she's going to help everyone because she knows exactly what everyone's going through because she's been through it. We're all family, just based on our experience, based on our fighting, based on our unrecognized trauma. Our common ground is that we love other people sometimes before we love ourselves, and that we're very proud. So when I hear us talk and I hear us learn from our experiences, I know that nothing we've gone through is a loss, and that the only reason why we went through it is because we're strong enough and fly enough and cool enough to survive it, so people that aren't don't have to go through the same thing if they're smart enough to listen. And this is what it looks like to help. This is what it looks like to do things. It's fly. It's cool. Intellectual, fly, brown-skinned people with a common ground to love others, to make sure that the people we love don't have to go through the struggles that we did, that our pain didn't go in vain. And I love that. And I love how fly it looks. So my thing is this. I'm going to make sure the whole world sees this. This is a television network, Dame Dash Studios, DDTV. I've just identified distribution in Atlanta, in LA, in Philadelphia, in Charleston. And I just feel like we have to celebrate ourselves. Our oppressor won't. It's strategic. We know what we got to do, and we doing it. So we're doing well on their terms, having the mayor and people like us running so that we can make sure they're regulated, but we don't depend on them. Even if we're over there, we still do what we have to do to make sure that the people we love are protected regardless of what they say and how much we get paid to do it. None of us really do this for a job. We do this because it makes us feel good, because we know why we're here. It all gives us purpose. And my last thing I want to say is dream big. Dream of a world where we're in control, meaning people that are like-minded, that want other people to win, that don't want to oppress people so they can get ahead. And also making other people aware that we don't have to depend on them, that we can do it ourselves. That's what this is. That's what we're doing. We're not complaining. We actually have action behind our passion. And I'm proud of that. And it's us. And no one's going to document this. No one's going to showcase this. No one's going to give the narrative that we help each other, that all we need is us, but us. And we'll do that. So the future looks bright. And whatever we're going through now, I think, relatively speaking, it hasn't been a long time. You know, it's just, we've just had enough relatively fast. And this generation isn't having it. So I appreciate all of y'all. I appreciate everything we're doing collectively, because we're also showing that we can stick together. We can have a disagreement. We can not see things exactly the same, but come to a common ground respectively. And we can help each other win. That's what ultimately keeps us strong individually. So collectiveness individually makes us stronger. And I appreciate all of y'all for that. And this is not the first. This is not the last. Rather, this is what? It's not the first.
Second one.
We've done it, but this is definitely not the last. We're going to do this all the time. It's going to get bigger and better. We're going to tour it. When the end of the world opens back up, they're going to really feel us physically. I'm looking forward to it. Dream big. Everyone here, if y'all want to be president, we'll help. You want to be mayor? We'll help. Congressman, we'll help. Senator, anything y'all want to do, we could do. But you do have muscle behind you legally. And thank you to OSG.
Dame, thank you so much, Dame. And you know, Priscilla, to see you here, to see Mayor Patterson here, to see Michelle here. I mean, it's Dame and I honor to be on this stage right now with y'all, because the power that you three possess is something that I can honestly say, this is the representation of OSG right here. This is what OSG represents. Not only what me and Dame are doing, but what you three do on a regular and consistent basis. So, I got to give a shout out to my entire OSG family. What? I know y'all are here supporting.
And the commission.
Family.
The whole OSG family's here, all the educators who came on. I saw, a brother that I'm going to try to start spending some time with, Dr. Sean Rux, who's a deputy superintendent as well. I saw him jump on, so enough respect to him. Again, everybody who took the time to come out and to hear what we have to say. This is not a conversation you could ever have in one sitting. You can't have it in 2 hours. You can't have it in 10 hours. The school to prison pipeline is something very, very real. And I feel like we're going to continue to have that conversation. We're going to continue to talk about the start of that pipeline so that our kids don't even make it nowhere near the end of that prison, that part of the pipeline, which is prison. So I definitely appreciate, my wife who's on here, Denise, I know her and Kayla, my daughter are downstairs watching. I see Natasha Spann, I see Lays, I see everybody. I see the Lioness Kioki. So I say this, y'all, before I get out of here, I want to pay homage to you, Michelle, because I know what this meant to you. And you were one of the most amazing hostesses that I've ever seen. And you allowed the guests to speak and everything else. But we're really, really proud of you. I mean, you truly represented OSG to the fullest today. And this is only the beginning. So I think I speak on behalf of the entire OSG family. And we love you. We respect you, and we can't wait to see what happens next. So, Dame, I know you had something to say before we pass it over to Michelle.
What's up, Dame?
What's happening? I just want you to know, again, we're going to have this bumping in Ghana, all over the continent of Africa. This is a game changer. You did your thing. We appreciate everybody. The commission. Just know that anyone here that is a part of a very big family, OSG, Dame Dash Studios, the commission, and this is what real power is, helping people and leading with love, fearlessly, unapologetically, and fly. But what I love, I want to just say this, what I love most about everybody is y'all never get on here unless y'all fly. Everybody look good. I got to appreciate that. The mayor, her hair, I don't know. What do you do to make your hair look good? Every time, man, sister. How your hair looks so good?
I almost pulled this joint in a ponytail. I was like,
and I know you look good in the top knot, too. I know it all look good. But I appreciate all of your beauty. And I honestly believe that if any one of y'all want to be president, governor, or whatever, that it would be better for us. And I invest in women. Me and Dennis know his wife is the boss. My wife is the boss. Y'all are the boss.
No
We're here to do whatever y'all tell us to do. And we'll take any abuse y'all want to give us. We appreciate y'all. Thank you.
Thank you.
So in close,
Go ahead, Shelly.
One thing, none of this is possible without OSG #1. The chairman right here, Easy Breezy, Dennis McKeezy. And we have Dame Studios, who constantly reminds us that we don't put things on YouTube, we put them on networks. So he always has us thinking big, because if you don't think big, you're not going to make it there. So this was, as they said, this is the beginning. We can't even see what the end is, because there is no end. It's just a continuation. I was just very honored to be in the space of people who have so many varied lived experiences, and we could really showcase this to everyone who might not be as well versed as everyone that was on the panel today about really what we need to do in terms of creating those solutions for the disruption of what's happening in Black and brown or economically disadvantaged communities. And one thing I can say is that from day one, Dame has always spoken about us being economically sustainable for ourselves. And we heard that over and over again about not letting other people dictate and create our narrative. It's time for us to do it on our own terms, our own accord, and in a collective. And so many people came on here that were already family. The stories were very similar, and none of this was scripted. So it just shows how massive this issue is. But the fact that we're all here committed to one purpose, all I can say is sky's the limit. And thank you everyone who stuck it out with us tonight. And I appreciate it, because this is like my little debut. And y'all held me down. Thank you. And on that note, good night.
Killed it. Congratulations. You better have an after party. Celebrate.
Thank you.
I love all of y'all. Priscilla, my sister, Dennis, Ralph Trasvan. I love you.
My God.
If you want another amazing video with the one and only Dame Dash, check it out right there next to me. I think you'll enjoy it. Continue to believe, and I'll see you there.